Recently, TCS announced that they are blacklisting 6 IT staffing companies, and they're also taking action at the person who's heading the resource management group after an inquiry. So the face of it, it looks like an internal matter for TCS. I'm sure TCS is a great organization. They know what they are doing. They have found that mistake. They correct it. So as far as one way of looking at it is that TCS is a great company to even acknowledge this problem, take it up upfront, inquire, find the root cause, and fix it. On the face of it, it's perfect. But actually, it is not perfect. Because underlying this, there is a fundamental problem in the IT hiring practices. But I want to talk about it as honestly as possible. I hope I will not be misunderstood by anybody. The first problem in IT hiring practices, the stakes are very high. All the MBA or engineering colleges, they've increased their fees. The intake of computer science and non-computer science engineering students have increased so much. And for any campus, if the students don't get placed or if the placement percentage drops, there's a heavy pressure on intake. Students are not willing to join. So there's a huge pressure in the campuses to get them placed. Now this translates into pressure on identifying companies which are willing to come to campus and hire. Why? Because the entire admission process is dependent on my placement record. But from the college point of view, there are some, let's say 400, 500 students a year who pass out every year, and the annual fee is, let us say, 4 lakhs a year or 3 lakhs a year. Imagine the amount of money involved for each campus. This pressure is translated to kind of unethical practices or a pressure on making an unethical practice happen on the employer side. Many IT companies like TCS or Infosys have very robust processes. They do a lot of verification, they do internal audit, etc., etc. They do all of them. Despite that, it escapes that system because of primarily collusion. Collusion between some of the key people in the company and college campuses. Now, this has got translated into staffing companies. The staffing companies know if they're able to engage with a large company and get a large number of positions filled up by the staffing employee, they have a recurring revenue and they get high amount of visibility. Effectively, what we are talking about is an unethical collusion between some people in the company and either a staffing company or a campus. What's the root cause of that? Root cause of that is the measurement or the way you select campuses, the way you select staffing companies. Today, most of the IT companies select campuses where they have the largest number of students hired. That means if I go to campus or I visit the campus, A-class campuses give the largest number of students to us every year. They are my priority campuses. Similarly, staffing companies. Staffing companies, when I have a vacancy, which staffing company fills up the vacancy very fast, which staffing company has a large number of employees with us becomes important. So in effect, because of business requirement, big is beautiful. Go after the big ones. But what we don't realize, when you go after the big one, the stakes also increase and the pressure or the probability of collusion also increases because the stakes are high for both the parties. What I have been saying in many forums in IT industry also, please look at ethical practices of your partners. That's one of the most important criteria for selection of partners. Yes, big is beautiful, but we can big later on. If you become big and become unethical, you face the scenario that you're facing. So, ethical practices, the way they conduct their business, how to conduct it, how to evaluate it is one story. We'll come to that later on. But the fundamental thing is there a criteria even for identification? If a company like, for example, TMI, we've been in business for 30 years. We haven't had a single incident of any collusion between us and anybody else. You can go online and check that out. You can talk to some other partners in our own industry. You can talk to people in our customers that we work with. Is there any pressure from TMI to do collusion? So part of the process of selection of people, let's say TCS and Infosys, should be how do we assess the process and integrity of the partners. Second one, which is very important, is continuously do an evaluation of the partner and the customer relationship Now, the 360 degrees evaluation that we do typically for any company will be a partner may be evaluated by the service receivers in the company. Could also be evaluated by HR. But most importantly, if somebody had gone into the market and asked competitors what do they think about this company, you get a lot of insight. So I would also encourage companies add a dimension of a third-party evaluation or a competitor evaluation of a company as an input, not necessarily conclusive input, but give you sort of leads in. You also have to listen very closely on the kind of practices done by the company employees. I remember this one case which happened to us, TMI, sometime around 2000. One of the world's largest companies were coming into India, and we were one of the partners selected for hiring. But we are not hitting good percentage of conversion. So I was very concerned. Then we went and found out that the person at that time, the HR person, made a direct offer to me personally, saying that yes, I can help you increase your conversion rate. I can get you more people placed, but only one condition. My wife will get CVs and she will give you the CVs. Make her your supply partner and give her part of the money. So what this person's recommendation was, whatever people resumes come to him directly or otherwise, he will send it to his wife or wife to me. We will place, collect the money and give it to this person. Obviously, I was shocked out of my wits. It's one of the world's largest companies. I went and met the CFO. I went and met and told him this. He said, no. We have got very good robust processes. What you're saying, I'm sorry, thank you so much for telling me, but I don't think it's true. 2 years later, I met him. They sacked the employee. They told us, yes, we should have listened to you, but we came to know 2 years later that we were doing. Now, here is an example. If they had kept our ears open to people who are doing practices with them, even in your own vendor list, there are some vendors who are clean. So that vendors will tell you what's happening with the other vendor and the relationship. So you have to listen. More and more successful IT companies become, they don't listen. They only tell you what you should do. They put their own criteria how they want to select. This is what I think fundamentally IT companies should do. A, focus on adding a dimension on ethical practices as one of the evaluation criteria. 2, listen to competition as part of your annual or biannual evaluation process about practices happening between the companies. Listen to all the partners whom you are working with. Some of them are smaller partners. Listen to what is their experience with the company and build your story about what is happening and not happening, or develop your hypothesis of what things are happening in the company based on that. This will really change or prevent such incidents happening again. Thank you.